Hey girl, let me tell you about this podcast.
Girl, everybody has a podcast these days.
But this one interviews new and interesting indie artists. It's called Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence.
Really? Where can I find it?
It's on all podcasting platforms, streams live on social media, and on rpentradio.com.
What'd you say it was called again?
It's called Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence.
Girl, I'm gonna have to check her out.
Give it a check, girl.
Welcome to this week's Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blind Intelligence. I'm your host, Miss Roni, where I always seek to give you exquisite cranial repertoire. This week, we're going to have an interview with an indie artist that goes by the name of Longboat. Please forgive the audio. I had some technical issues with the platform that I was using that I will not be using anymore. But I did my best with editing on this one. So, check it out.
So, where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Seattle.
Originally from Seattle. Okay. And you wrote many songs about Seattle.
Yes.
Okay. So, I was looking at your Spotify and your fan base. Do you think that your core fan base is in Seattle, or do you think because of the type of music that you make, where is your core fan base?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere where people like eclectic pop music.
Okay.
I don't write love songs. I write songs about whatever's interesting me at the moment.
Okay.
And
you remind me, your voice reminds me of Duran Duran. So when when I looked at the genre the agency sent over, they said that it was indie pop. And I was like, you kind of sound pop rockish to me. So what would you name your genre? Because like I said, when I first heard, I mean, it's not just totally that. It's like you have another piece that's really eccentric. It stands out on its own.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to make, like 10 years ago, I tried to make the term unpop stick, and it totally didn't. But I go with indie pop. I go with eclectic. Usually the more words people use to describe their music, the more confusing it is to people. And I just say I do pop music.
Okay.
But I don't write love songs. I write songs about things and songs that have stories behind them.
So, what are you planning to do with your music? Because whenever I listen to music, I'll be like, I can see this music here, or placed here, or doing this right here. Now, when I first listened, what I thought was, because I just came back from Las Vegas, I was like, yeah, I can hear this while I'm shopping in Vegas, out on the strip. It's that type of music because, Vegas has like a wide variety of all type of entertainment. And I just feel like that your music would fit in like so good on the Vegas strip. So where do you see your music?
You're so sweet to say that. I see it everywhere, honestly, because I write it. I don't write it for any specific person or any specific occasion.
Okay.
And I used to, when I would release albums, I would think, oh, this song this is going to play somewhere, and people are going to really latch onto it, and it's going to become part of their experience, which is how music stays with people. And since the only radio stations that were playing my music were like 50-watt university stations, there was very
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. But it wasn't being it wasn't being circulated among a wider audience, and I really want my music to find a wider audience and a dedicated audience too. Mm-hmm. And I'm always very, very I have great desire to communicate with my audience beyond the music. If anyone has like any questions or any comments too, I'm always up for answering those.
Okay. So with, I would say, the onset, with especially having 8 albums, with the onset of, I would say, COVID, the recovery from COVID, the introduction, not the introduction, I would say the boom of AI in the music industry, and the pressure with social media. How do you navigate this as an independent artist?
Well, that's a heavy question. Well, the thing is with COVID, I made 6 albums during 2020, and I actually had a session cut right into because our state went into lockdown, and I was the last session at that recording studio, and 3 months later, I was the first session when they opened back up, and it's gonna get made, and that's kind of how I feel about all my music, that it's inevitable to me, and AI doesn't bother me at all because it's not good music.
I'm not even talking about just in the aspect of music. I'm talking about in the music industry, how it's implanted itself into the music industry. I mean, because it's like, even if you have to be smarter than the computer, of course, yes. But then when you look at, we can cut this in half the time, I can get this done. And I mean, so it's like with the Matrix, the Sentinels are invading.
You like that movie too?
I love it.
Me too. I absolutely love it. The other two, not so great, but the first one, yeah.
I'm crazy about all of them. I have bought them over and over again. I bought the DVDs. If they get scratched, I'm going back. Yeah, I love the Matrix. So I can see a lot of, and it's going to be a lot of the things that happen in the music industry within the Matrix. So I know that it's a navigation, and you have to, this is fantasy, and this is what can really happen. And well, hey, do you want to cut this person to get this deal? I mean, so I could see all of that. But I mean, even with navigating the different parts of AI within the music industry. So I'm talking about not just the music part, not just creating an AI artist, not just using AI generated musical verses or whatever. I mean, just infiltrating the music industry.
Well, the thing is that the glitches in the Matrix are good things. They are healthy for the rest of the Matrix. You should look for the glitches in the Matrix because those are the things that will lead to innovation. And I don't really consider myself an innovator. I just consider myself someone who writes a lot of music, and I have sort of shifting visions about how music should be, and I tend, lots of times, instead of just writing one song about something, I write an entire album about one theme, and it's up to people as individuals to listen to this music and judge for themselves. And whether it's part of the Matrix or whether it's a glitch in the Matrix. And I would love to be a glitch in the Matrix.
Okay. So
it wasn't just a cat that kept going back and forth.
How does a creative become creative?
It's something that you can't force. It's kind of you are or you aren't. But the thing is that in the music industry, lack of creativity has never stopped anyone. and it's you can have a lot of hackery and imitation disguising itself as creativity. I used to work in an ad agency, and every single week the company newsletter would come out emphasizing creativity, creativity, creativity. And the thing is in my experience, when you have to emphasize creativity that much, your industry is not creative. And the thing is it has to come from within. You have to want to do it. It took me a long time to write music because I was looking for the right approach. Because every time I tried it, it was difficult. It was not as I thought it would be. It wasn't like it wasn't a movie. It's not like you hit the 2 notes on the piano and suddenly you have a song.
Right.
It takes work. It takes a lot of work, and it takes your own method. You can't work by anybody else's method. And so I would just say, in summation, it has to come from within. If you have that desire, then you have to work that through. And also, this is probably the most important of all. Once you start doing it, it has to become something else. It has to constantly become something else. Otherwise, it will get stale and stagnant, and it will die, and you will be unhappy with what you're doing.
Okay. Well, when I think about that, I think about all the many hobbies that I like to do. Of course, I like to craft, and you might finish something and then you're looking, I'm gonna add this to it. I'm gonna do this to it. Maybe it'll look better with a brush of this color on top. And I would say as a creative, when you're working on music, how do you know that the product is finished? Because if you keep listening to it, you're like, I might want to add something right here. So how do you know when it gets to the point that you're going to consider it a finished product?
That's always a thorny question. It really is. And I just it becomes a personal experience that this tune is done. This tune doesn't lack anything. and you just kind of have to convince yourself that. And now when I just finished mixing my 8th album yesterday in London, and I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, maybe I could put a backing vocal there. Maybe I make this one drum patch a little quieter. But you do have to walk away from it.
But that's when you can take the opportunities to incorporate those things during your live show, where you're giving the audience something, a different version of a part of you, I would say.
Absolutely.
Because, there's different things that you might want to add, or I might want to change this lyric during this time right here. And I think those give opportunities to the time to show your stage presence and the things that you can give to the artist. So, I just wondered about, when does a creative say, hey, this is the finished product? Does it ever get to that? Is it, I have some other ideas for it, but I'm gonna incorporate these ideas later. So I know some people like release deluxe albums and things of that nature. That's why I'm wondering, does a creative ever get to a finished product?
Well, you did sort of touch on the fact that there is an audience involved with a lot of things. Say like oldies. The audience wants that note for note. It has to be note for note. Otherwise, it seems strange and different to them, and they don't want that. But say on the other end of the spectrum, there's Bob Dylan, who tries to do every time he does a song, he wants to do it differently, and that is if you're a live performer and you're not used to that, and you are urged to make a different version of it every single time. It can be exhausting. And so there is a happy medium here. And I would love, I'm going to be working up piano versions of a lot of my tunes. And I'm going to be doing all the stuff that I think should have been done.
Okay.
And I think it's a fantastic idea. And plus, you give people a unique reading, and that isn't going to happen again. Okay. It's a once in a lifetime thing, especially if they like your music. They can take that with them.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your 8th album.
Oh, well, it's kind of the 7th and 8th album are a group.
Okay.
And what I wanted to do is my wife and I live about a third of the year in London, and I am an Anglophile. I do like I like London. I think it's the greatest city in the world. And I came here. I came to London right after I graduated from high school, and I kind of looked around and I said, yeah, so this is what a city's supposed to be. And it could have been Dallas, it could have been Phoenix, it could have been Tokyo. But it kind of vibed with me, and I've really liked it ever since.
Okay.
And so these two albums are basically sort of my take on English British life. I make up ghost stories. I tell tales about. I even touch on colonialism. I talk about my perspective on life in England at this time.
Okay.
And so and I wanted to make it in London, and so I made it in at Strong Room Studios, where that's where the Spice Girls recorded their first album. There are 14 studios there, and apparently when I was recording my 2 weeks ago when I was recording my first album there, Roger Waters was like hanging around, and and so they get like famous people in there all the time. Mm-hmm. But it's tales of England and Britain.
Okay.
And it's just an American's take of that.
Okay.
Sort of like what the Kinks were doing with Village Green Preservation Society.
Okay. So do you do live performances?
I haven't done a live performance in a long time because I've just concentrated on making albums. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to start since I have just made 8 albums. I really want to work on self-accompanying on piano, and then I'm going to start playing live, most likely in London.
Okay. So tell me, how do you navigate social media?
Whenever anybody reaches out to me, I answer. I like hearing what people have to say about my music, and usually I don't think I've ever gotten a troll. I've gotten spammed, but I haven't gotten a troll ever, because people realize that I'm honestly trying to make good music and trying to release it to the public. Mm-hmm. And so I don't get any like, hey, Longboat, you suck, and or anything like that, because I feel like I'm doing this in good faith.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there anything else that you would like us to know about? I'm going to call you the one-man band.
Well, I do have, I have made 4 albums this year with live players. Mm-hmm. I've made 3 with completely live band. Mm-hmm. I made 1 album about, and this is going to sound super heavy, but it's pop music. It really is. It's pop music. I made 1 album about loss, 1 album about mortality, and 1 album, being an Eastern European, this warms my heart, 1 album about revenge. And just talk to another Ukrainian, and they'll tell you all about how much they savor revenge. Yeah.
When Russia invaded Ukraine, I had just interviewed a group. They were a heavy metal group called, I can't remember the name of it, but they had one member from Russia, one member from the Ukraine, and one member from Sweden. And I had been trying to check on them. I don't know what happened, but when the war broke out there, I think that it interrupted a lot of things there. With that war, how did it affect your music, being that you live a third of the year in the UK? Because although it's not right there, it's still, the world is small.
Well, it was very strange because my wife and I, before we lived here, we had our honeymoon over in London, and this is 2018, and you know where you went all the time, you heard Russian spoken. You heard it on the tube, you hear it in public, and then after the war started, nothing. You do not hear Russian spoken in public at all. You hear lots of Polish, and you occasionally hear Ukrainian, but Russian almost never. And,
that leads me to another question. Go ahead.
But as my family lives in Western Ukraine, and so they're not getting bombed or cruise missiled, but my younger cousins are getting to be draft age. And I'm worried for them. I really am. Okay. So, yeah.
That brings me to the question, because I know I was getting ready to end it, but what do you think about censorship? That, like with YouTube and even with the Super Bowl that was here, and some words that cannot be said, like on YouTube, you cannot say the assault word. You have to say grape. You have to code words and things like that for censorship now. Music used to be, and I'm not saying that it's not now, but music was always right there with literature, with different events that happen in the world to shape how people think and how people view things. And before, I'm not going to always say that that speech was free, but it seems like now, if it is going against the message that they want the public to know, that they're censoring people who are speaking raw truth. Do you think, or how has censorship influenced your creativity? Because we are being censored.
It hasn't at all. It's strangely enough, because I wrote an entire album about January 6th, and that was not censored at all. And I've done political stuff, made plenty of fun of Trump and MAGA, and it has never really been anything. But then again, I don't have a wider audience. I haven't done the equivalent of like try that in a small town. Because you've heard of that. That was like
Yeah, you have to know your audience.
Yeah. And I haven't done anything like that. But it hasn't affected me at all. But it seems that, especially on social media, that it's very arbitrary. That you can, some people can get away with some language, other people can't. I don't. I use almost no profanity in my music, and the controversial topics are discussed, and they're not foisted on people. And then if worst comes to worst, there's always satire. Satire has always is supposed to make people think. It's supposed to ruffle feathers, and I have that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I like doing that, but you won't get censored for it.
Okay. Now I want you to tell everyone where they can find your music, where they can find you on social media, if they want to work with you, how they can get in contact with you. Anything about Longboat.
Okay. Well, you can visit my site, which is at Longboat. It's LONGBOAT.band. And you'll like my website because it looks like it's for like the world's worst Mexican restaurant, and you can access the discography through there, or you can go to Bandcamp /Longboat, and I have released 32 albums, and the other 7 are coming in the next year and a half or so. Okay. And then if you want to send me a message, just you could do it through the website. And I'd love to hear from anybody who has listened to the music and has an opinion that is constructive. It's always constructive opinions are always valued.
Okay. Well, you can catch Indie Artist Music Hustle on all podcasting platforms. You can catch us on social media, especially on YouTube. Check out the YouTube channel and on the website at www.blonde-intelligence.com. And we will see you next week. Bye. Learn about the indie artist from the indie artist.
Well, I'm Jana Key. I'm an artist.
Well, my name is Lauren, as you already said. I am a singer-songwriter.
So I'm all Pems. I originally come from the Caribbean, St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
My name is Brian Doucette. I'm an East Coast Canadian rocker.
And then I found myself in Las Vegas, where I'm at currently, for dancing for Cirque du Soleil with my own solo.
But also learn from music industry professionals.
I'm a music producer. I've been producing professionally for about 14 years. I have worked with a couple people in the industry, Grammy nominated Trev Rich, Nisha from 702.
After I got my deal with Universal Music, after the Alicia Keys and Gunna record and many others that I've done, and then Alicia Keys was the #1 adult R&B song of the year.
I asked the questions.
That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Ooh, that is a good question.
Wow. I love all these questions. These are great. Like most of the questions that I get are like, tell me about Justin Bieber. It's like...
Indie Artist Music Hustle is for the indie artists, their fans, industry professionals, and the music lover. Subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, or the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, or Blonde Intelligence Facebook page. Don't forget to add me to your playlist. Bye.
It's been really fun, especially talking to someone across the pond. That's cool.